Picture a camp on the edge of the African savanna, maybe 70,000 years ago. The fire is low. Most of the group is asleep, but one person isn't. They're sitting at the edge of the light, listening, scanning the dark. Their heart rate has been elevated since sundown for no reason they can name. They heard something earlier, or maybe they didn't. They can't be sure. They won't sleep until the sky starts to lighten. The rest of the group finds this mildly irritating. They found it mildly irritating for years. That person did not have a disorder. That person was the reason the rest of them woke up in the morning. Here is the thing that nobody told you about anxiety. It is not a malfunction. It is one of the oldest and most precisely engineered survival systems in the human body. And the people who ran it loudest, the ones who couldn't stop scanning, who imagined every possible threat before it arrived, who lost sleep over things that hadn't happened yet, those people were not the group's problem. They were the group's early warning system, and ancient tribes knew it. What happened to that knowledge is a story worth understanding, because it connects directly to why so many people today are walking around with a system that works perfectly and being told it's broken. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Start with what anxiety actually is, stripped of the clinical language. It is anticipatory threat detection. The brain running simulations of things that might go wrong before they do. A hyperactive version of the same system that keeps everyone alive, just calibrated further toward caution than most. In 2013, psychologist Elaine Aron published decades of research into what she called high sensitivity, a trait found in roughly 20% of humans across every culture ever studied. The same trait appears in over 100 other species. In every population where it's been documented, it shows up at the same ratio, about 1 in 5. That consistency is not an accident. Evolutionary biology doesn't maintain a trait across 100 species over millions of years, unless it's doing something useful. What was it doing? In 2009, Israeli psychologist Avi Omen at the Karolinska Institute published research showing that highly anxious individuals detected threat-relevant stimuli, shapes, sounds, faces, significantly faster than their lower anxiety counterparts. Not slightly faster. Measurably, repeatedly, across multiple studies, faster. Their nervous systems were tuned to catch what other nervous systems missed. In an environment where what you missed killed you, that wasn't a quirk. That was a gift to everyone nearby. The anthropological record makes this tangible. In 2003, anthropologist Barry Hewlett spent extended time studying the Aka people of Central Africa, one of the most thoroughly researched hunter-gatherer communities alive. Among the Aka, specific individuals were consistently recognized for a quality the group valued: the ability to sense when something was wrong before any visible evidence appeared. These weren't shamans or designated leaders. They were ordinary members of the group whose nervous systems were simply turned up louder than the others. The community did not treat this as a burden, they treated it as information. Hewlett documented that such individuals often took specific roles in the group, not formal titles, but functional positions. They slept lighter. They set the timing for when the group moved camp. Their discomfort with a location carried weight in group decisions. When the anxious member of the group wanted to leave, the group considered leaving. Not always, but they listened. Think about what that actually means. For most of human history, survival decisions, where to camp, when to move, whether a situation was safe, were made collectively, and the nervous system of the most sensitive person in the group was treated as legitimate data. The person who couldn't stop worrying wasn't sidelined, they were consulted. Now bring that forward to 2025 and consider what we've done instead. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. The shift happened gradually, then completely. Agriculture changed the calculus first. Once humans settled into fixed locations with grain stores and livestock, the survival premium on constant environmental scanning dropped. You no longer needed someone to sense whether this valley felt wrong. You were staying in this valley. The hypervigilant nervous system went from essential infrastructure to inconvenient noise. And then the industrial and post-industrial world removed almost every context in which that sensitivity had a natural outlet. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux at New York University spent decades mapping what he called the fear circuit, the pathway from sensory input to amygdala to full-body threat response. His research, published across the 1990s and 2000s, showed that this circuit operates faster than conscious thought. The anxious brain isn't overreacting. It's reacting at the speed it was designed to react. In a body sitting in an open-plan office or reading emails at midnight, the lion is gone. The circuit remains. Here's where it gets specific. In 2006, clinical psychologist Jeremy Copeland at SUNY Downstate published findings on what he called the Sentinel hypothesis. The idea that in social groups, individuals with heightened anxiety responses served a measurable protective function. His research found that groups containing highly vigilant individuals showed better collective threat detection than homogeneous groups where everyone's nervous system was calibrated roughly the same. The anxious person wasn't just carrying their own survival, they were carrying a portion of everyone else's. The Sentinel hypothesis explains something that pure individual-level thinking never could: why the trait persisted. If anxiety were purely a liability, if it only cost the individual and never paid anything back, natural selection would have slowly reduced its frequency. It didn't. It maintained it. 1 in 5, across species, across cultures, across the entire span of human evolution. Because in every group, the person lying awake scanning the dark was doing something the sleeping person couldn't do. That person was protecting someone who never knew they needed protecting. Now sit with what that means for you. If you are someone whose mind will not stop running worst-case scenarios, who imagines problems before they arrive, who has been told your whole life that you worry too much, your nervous system is not malfunctioning. It is running a program that kept human beings alive for 300,000 years. The settings weren't designed for a world of email notifications and mortgage deadlines. They were designed for the actual edge of night, where missing something once was the last mistake you ever made. The ancient group didn't try to fix their anxious member. They didn't tell them to calm down, breathe through it, or think more rationally. They built a life that used what that nervous system was offering. They gave it a role. They gave it weight. They listened to it. Not every time, not blindly, but enough that the person carrying it felt their sensitivity was something other than a problem to be managed. You are not broken. You are a sentinel in a world that forgot it needed one. The person sitting at the edge of the firelight, listening for what the others couldn't hear. They were not the weakest member of the group. They were the reason the group had a morning. There's a detail in the archaeological record that most people never hear about. At Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq, researchers excavating a Neanderthal burial site in the 1950s found the remains of an individual, estimated to be between 40 and 50 years old at death, who had survived for years with a withered arm, partial blindness, and what appeared to be significant physical limitations. Anthropologist Ralph Selecki, who led the excavation, concluded that this individual could not have survived without active, sustained support from the rest of the group. Someone fed them, someone kept them warm. Someone decided, repeatedly, over years, that this person's presence was worth the cost. The question worth asking is, what did that person give back? Groups do not carry expensive members out of sentiment alone, not in an environment where resources are measured in hours and calories. If a person who could not hunt, could not gather efficiently, could not run, if that person was kept and protected and buried with care, they were contributing something, and the most likely contribution for someone whose body forced them inward was attention, observation, the thing that anxious, sensitive, hypervigilant people do better than anyone else. They notice. Developmental psychologist Judith Rich Harris spent years arguing that human groups were never just collections of individuals competing for resources. They were information networks. And the most valuable nodes in any information network are not the loudest or the strongest. They are the ones paying the most careful attention to everything around them. The anxious mind is not a mind at war with itself. It is a mind that was built to hold more information than feels comfortable. Because comfort was never the point. Survival was, and it worked. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.